You're listening to the Dad Whisperer podcast with Dr. Michelle Watson Canfield, the place where you, as a dad, will gain more tools for your fathering toolbox, and where moms and daughters are also invited to listen into the conversation. Now, here is your host, Dr. Michelle Watson Canfield.
Hello and welcome back to the Dad Whisperer podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Michelle Watson Canfield, and I love that you're here, Dad, today, especially if you're ready to add more tools to your fathering toolbox. Well, you know the grid I use every week, which is simply on your mark, get set, go. So on your mark is the topic or the theme. Get set. I'm going to fill that in with stories and stats, and go is always your practical action step so that you can put your love for your daughters and your sons into action this week. Well, I'm here at the National Religious Broadcasters Conference in Nashville, Tennessee, with lots of other people who love reaching the hearts and the homes of those that we get to invest in. And so today I have a guest coach joining me by the name of Tricia Thornton. Now, the fun thing about her is that she and I share something in common. We are both licensed professional counselors who are in private practice. So both of us are in the trenches with people that we care about and feel so honored and privileged to be trusted with stories that are raw and that are real in real time. And so what I can tell you is Tricia is a woman who cares deeply about people and seeing life change. And so today, in a way, dads, just think of this, moms too, as getting free therapy. You got two therapists, two shrinks who are putting our hearts and heads together and bringing you, let's hope that it's wisdom from our hearts and our experience to you, because that's really our desire, is to really meet you where you're at. And so let me just tell you a little bit more about her. As I said, Tricia is in private practice. She's a child and family therapist and a registered play therapist and a best-selling author and speaker who came to national attention while counseling Covenant School families and children in the wake of the Nashville shooting in 2023. Her latest book is titled Beyond Blessed Parenting, and it's a guide for parents who are trying to navigate the complexities of raising children in today's tumultuous world. Do I hear an amen? How many of you dads are sometimes like saying, I don't know how to navigate all the things that are coming at my daughter, at my son, and so I could use some tools in my toolbox to help me be a better girl dad. Tricia heralds from Nashville, Tennessee, right where we are now, where she, like I said, is in private practice. She's married to the love of her life and is a mom to two daughters. Welcome, Tricia Thornton.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great. I love our connection.
I know, and we've been to some of the same conferences, and yet we're finally meeting in person. So I love that. Yes. Well, today on your mark is 7 strategic principles for deeper father-daughter connection. So I love in your book how you have 7 principles, and what I've been told year after year by men is just tell us what to do to fix it and get to the point already. And we love numbers. Men have gone, give me the layout of what I need to do so I know the plan, and I know how to check the box if I've done it, and I know where to go if I haven't done it. And so today we're going to break that down. You're going to break this down because I know that you and I have similar hearts. Because when I've heard you talk about some of these principles, Tricia, I'm going, yep, what she said. And so thank you for bringing your wisdom here today. So how about, before we start just getting into the 7 principles, what motivated you? Where did your heart for Beyond Blessed Parenting come from?
So it probably came from years of my practice and working with individuals professionally and personally. It also was a follow-up to my first book, Blessing from Fear, which was my journey, personal journey overcoming fear. It did end with how I was impacted personally and professionally by the Covenant School shooting. And then so Beyond Blessed Parenting, I actually didn't really even feel like I had a choice not to write it. Like, I felt very called that we needed something, like you said, practical, that was brain-based, that was incorporated psychology and spirituality, Christianity, all wrapped up in one. And that was easy to follow. Like you said, I wanted to provide easy how-tos. The how-tos are what I teach in my practice through my parent coaching, through my play therapy sessions with teenagers, adults. a lot of times I work with parents, and so sitting there with parents, that's really where these 7 principles got kind of came to me. Funny story is I was taking a walk. I was actually down in Savannah, Georgia, giving a talk for my first book and doing a book signing. And I was taking a walk, and it's beautiful. I was taking a walk along the marsh. And all of a sudden, I just felt like these words just kind of popped into my head. I kind of was already thinking about what's book 2. I wonder. I have fell in love with writing, so I kind of was like, wonder what this is. Called my publisher and said, hey, I think I have an idea, and I listed the words, and he immediately kind of got a little bit. I could just tell, even though we were on the phone, a little bit emotional. And I said, what did I say
what's
that
going on?
captured you? And he said, Tricia, do you know how many you named? And I said, no. And he said, there's 7. And he said, that's just completion. So I just said, that's it. That's the book. And there it was. And so that's how the book got birthed.
And so what does beyond blessed mean?
Yeah. So to me, it's, that's such a good question. Beyond, I think, all of our own fears, and really realizing that we can see parenting as a blessed opportunity instead of always being so overwhelmed.
Because it's a hard job.
It never stops.
It never stops, and you never feel like you're doing enough
right. I was walking into the conference, and my daughter calls me from college with 102 fever. I mean, it just,
always
we
something.
never stop being a parent. Once you're a parent, it never stops.
Right.
And no matter how old your children are, how young your children are, whatever season of life and parenting. So I want people to hear that you can first be an individual yourself. You don't have to lose yourself. And so that's part of that beyond
getting that oxygen
blessed. Yes.
mask on you.
Exactly. I use that analogy in my book and all the time, because
you got to start with you.
We have to start with us. So the premise of this whole book and the 7 principles, I'll get to this a little bit in there when we are discussing them, but is the cross of connection is my foundational principle. So it's kind of the overarching
Say that again.
Cross of connection.
Cross of connection. So you kind of picture an intersection.
Yes. And so what that means is if you visualize a cross, so like, I know we're on audio, so picture everybody across, picture God at the top, and then yourself on the top leg of the cross. So we first need to connect with God, then connect within yourself, then with either a community, a spouse, a partner, a friend, then your children. So it's a whole lot of connecting that has to occur up here before we connect with our children. So that's the foundation of all of these 7.
I love that. You know what even just popped in my head when you were talking, Tricia, is that many dads, I would say every dad I've ever met, when he tells me the story of when he first held his daughter when she was born, usually the tears start. I watch his face just lighten up and a smile melts. And he starts remembering back. And in some ways, though I haven't heard many dads use the word blessed, I think they would say, yeah, I felt so blessed that I get to be the dad to this daughter. But then when the hard years hit, I think it's another take on your title. I need something that's way beyond blessed, because I now don't feel very blessed.
No. And
I need something beyond blessed.
I think most of the parents that come to see me
and me
and you
are in the trenches,
are not feeling very blessed.
No, they're not feeling very blessed.
They're very exhausted.
So you need something else beyond that. So I love how you said connection has everything to do with everything.
Everything.
And the word in our field, we're going to teach you all a psychobabble word, is called regulation. That when your child is dysregulated, they're having a meltdown, and they're not as easy to tolerate when they're 13 instead of 3. Not that they're easy at 3. You think, I am not made for this. This is too much. Well, you're not alone. It is too much. It's too much for your child. It's too much for you.
And we were never meant to carry it all.
No, it's always too much.
We were never meant to do it all.
Right. So the best gift you can give when your child is dysregulated is they need to be regulated. And they do that through co-regulation. So that whole connecting with you, kind of even the word co-regulation is connecting regulation. Like they've got to connect with you. So like Tricia just beautifully, I love how you said it. I couldn't said it better. Beautifully said is you have to first connect with God, connect with yourself first, then connect with your child, which may mean mean in the middle of a meltdown, you have to go take a 5-minute timeout first.
100%.
I always say, I don't mean this to be crass, but go to the restroom. Anywhere you are, go to the restroom.
Yeah.
Put one hand on your
And I
forehead,
will
another hand on
say-
the back of your head. Calm yourself
Yes.
first.
And
know?
Michelle, I know we're getting to tidbits right now, but one of the things that I hear often is, well, what am I supposed to do when my child, one of the reasons why they're melting is because they have separation anxiety. And I'm like, then just go in the same room, turn your back to her or to him. That will create that space, and you can out loud talk and say, oh, mama or daddy is feeling really overwhelmed. I'm going to take some deep breaths. I'm going to jump up and down and do whatever. I'm going to use my 5 senses. And you're co-regulating yourself and modeling to your child at the same time.
Excellent.
But I love that example. But also, I am all for, if you're able and your child is in a space where they're okay, then absolutely exit the room.
Yeah. And get yourself grounded first.
Then come back.
And then come back and say something when you go away.
Yes.
I'm going to go get myself
Don't just exit, because that's very fear-producing for a child.
Exactly. So you're communicating, which in time, your hope, right, is that your child will be able to give words to the big feelings inside.
Yes, that's the goal.
Right? So let's head in to the 7 principles that we're giving dads today for deeper father-daughter connection. Where does he start? Number 1.
So number 1 is silence. And this is the hardest one.
Especially
it's the hardest for me. It's the
men.
hardest for men. It's very, very hard for that doer personality that is in a male's DNA. So, because often they feel silence is not strong. And silence, I mean, through scripture, we are told being still, being silent is strong. It's strength. So instead of feeling this need to fix it, what I encourage dads to do is pause, literally count to 5. If you really ideally want to do this brain science wise, then it takes 90 seconds for a message to go into the thalamus, go through the bloodstream, then get to either the mid-brain area, the emotional center, or the prefrontal cortex. Ideally, if you can give yourself a minute and a half, that's wonderful. We don't usually have that. So 5 long paused, counting 1, 2, and then to 5 will reset you enough to put that silence in place. Then you can react. Then you can bring in a redirection. You know what affirm first through your silence.
What I love about how you just explained what silence means is I imagine some men would say, I want action. Like you said, I want to do, I want to fix. So it would seem very counterintuitive and maybe wimpy. Like, you want me to stand here and do nothing, say nothing. But what I hear in silence is that you're saying it is an active stance.
It's an active silence. Yeah. It's not a passive silence.
Exactly.
So it's an active way for you to, that's what you're doing. You're connecting with God and within. Then from that connected place, out of that silence, you're then connecting with your child.
Yeah.
But it is the hardest first step. And these don't have to be necessarily in order, but silence is my integral principle.
And I also heard you say, in that active time of silence, you're breathing.
You're breathing. You're using your 5 senses.
Right. You're getting grounded in the present.
Thinking of positive thoughts, talking positive to yourself, all of those grounding techniques that are kind of, we know those, but if we don't pause, we don't engage them.
Right. And then now we're running ahead and
we're trying to fix it.
Different parts of our brain are activated and we're not thinking very clear, which is this frontal part of our brain.
And what happens for the child is they will often feel dismissed and often feel shame. And once that spiral starts, that's when the meltdowns are going to go eruptive.
And then where parents don't mean to make the child feel like something about them is broken or wrong instead of the behavior being broken or wrong and needing correcting. But it just tends to kind of be a runaway train, right? If you don't first just stop and breathe and be silent. So I love that you started there because it is counterintuitive.
It completely
but it's a roadmap.
And we really weren't, I said this at the beginning, we were not meant to be busy all the time. We really from the Garden of Eden, we were not meant to be that. Now we are busy, but that is what feeds those children feeling like they have to be on the go all the time.
Right. I'll just say one more thing before we go on to number 2, which is that thinking about David in the Bible, he's a warrior, he's a king. So he's written a lot of the Psalms. And how often was he, a man's man, saying Selah, S-E-L-A-H, pause, breathe. I mean, he a lot of times writes that in the very narrative. So maybe that'll be a role model, a picture that a man can think of. I can be a warrior visual. And take a breath.
Yeah.
Okay, what's number 2?
Okay, so number 2 is listening. This one is when a father, this is another hard one because, again, we want to go to fixing. Mm-hmm. And we tend to do that out of our own, like you were saying, reactionary state, whichever of the fear responses that comes online. Typically, we are not quiet. Mm-hmm. We are not sitting there. We are typically trying to fix, and that means we're talking. Well, when you're talking and you're busy doing that, your listening skills are not able to be present. Right. And so we kind of have to incorporate, it almost like incorporates both at the same time. And the one tool that I would use the most is, again, in that pause where you're listening and you're being silent, because those kind of blend together, use your 5 senses. Quickly. I mean, this can be so fast. Look around your room. You can do this in the steering. You can do it in the car. You're holding the steering wheel and look around and say, what are 3 things you see, hear, touch, smell, taste? Even if you can get see, hear, and touch out, that quick enough will regulate you. So that tool for listening to me is one of the most powerful tools. Another one is to use a body scan meditation. Where BSM is an acronym. You start at your feet, or you can start your head, but you go through and you just kind of notice, what is your body telling you? When I have father clients, when I have males pause in the session, and I'll say, hey, just pause for just a second. Where do you feel that feeling right now? You can visibly see them like come
Once
down.
they tune into it, name it, notice it.
Name it, notice it.
It already
Dan
begins
Siegel,
to shift the state. Name it to tame it.
Shift. Then you can be more present and fully, authentically listen to your child.
I love that. Again, like I told all of y'all at the beginning, this is really like getting 2 therapists in a room where we're like bouncing back and forth ideas. I want you to feel the love and the care that Tricia and I have right now. Like we're holding hands around you. We're wanting to lift you up if you're feeling beat up or discouraged, or you're estranged from your daughter and you just feel like none of this is helping you reach her heart. You're like, I want to have deeper father-daughter connection, but I don't have opportunities to connect. We're talking about getting yourself grounded first, even if there's distance. And I was just thinking about this idea of listening, because that is a key thing that I teach dads in my 2 books, like again, in Let's Talk, it's teaching dads how to listen longer. Is 2 ears, 1 mouth, twice as much as you listen. But I had one dad in the groups that I lead. I'll never forget his quote. He said, when I learned to listen longer, I began to realize the question I was just going to answer was actually not the question she was asking me.
Oh gosh, that's so great.
When
and
he
if
listened
you paused,
longer
you can
and
do
paused
that.
and listened longer, just waiting even a couple seconds before responding, he would find out, oh, she went in a whole different direction and didn't even need me to answer that first part of the question. That was just a lead in. Or I had another dad in the group say, again, because men have taught me brilliant interventions, and I've held them as they've taught me this. But one of them said he learned to ask his 3 daughters, is this a listening session or a fix-it session? So you just ask her, and that will help you expand your capacity to listen longer.
We could do a whole nother session on this.
You're right.
But couples, so with your partner, if you're able to ask each other, hey, what do you need right now? Do you just need me to catch all that you need to throw at me? Or do you need me to throw back the ball and give you some redirection? That it's beautiful, and I love that. It
Yeah,
can go parenting
you're right.
and with marriage,
And with your work.
relationships,
With your work
friendship,
relationships.
couples, anything.
And see, again, in all my 16 years of walking alongside men, 30 years in private practice, I've had so many dads say it feels passive to just stand there and listen.
I know.
But it's actually really hard work. And there's actually a term in our field called active listening.
Yep.
Like you'd said, active versus passive. Your daughter can tell if you're really listening because she's reading your eyes.
If you have that black phone
or the
sitting
remote
in front of your face, either one,
remote in your hand.
any of those, that will communicate immediately. He doesn't care.
It's half listening or it's not listening or it's distracted listening. So again, like you said, we could do a whole session just on how to listen. And I've been doing the podcast for 10 years now. I've done many of them on what does it look like to listen
To actually
or
listen.
have woven them in. But we're just reminding you, Dad, that is a strategic principle for deeper father-daughter connection. Well, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, Tricia Thornton's going to continue giving you the 7-fold principle to dial into your daughter's heart. We'll be right back.
Are you a dad who has ever desired a deeper connection with your daughter, but haven't known how to go about it? Let's Talk Conversation Starters for Dads and Daughters is the very resource you need. Dr. Michelle wrote it with you dads in mind. This book will support you with scripted questions, equip you to decode your daughter, and inspire you with stories of other dads and daughters. Don't wait any longer to be the hero you want to be and that your daughter needs you to be. So, to let the talking begin, head on over to drmichellewatson.com/books and order your copy today. This book will become a favorite in your fathering toolbox and will give you the answers you've been looking for. That's drmichellewatson.com/books. Now, back to the Dad Whisperer podcast.
Welcome back. I'm here today with my new friend, Tricia Thornton, a licensed counselor like I am. We both love people and being entrusted with stories. And in her book, Beyond Blessed Parenting, she has 7 strategic principles that we're adapting here today for the father-daughter connection. Number 1, first principle, silence. Second principle, listening. What is the third principle?
The third is acknowledgement. And so this happens again, coming from that cross of connection framework. This comes with us acknowledging with God within ourselves how we're feeling. We have to first acknowledge ourselves, then we can acknowledge our child.
Okay, so what does acknowledge mean?
So acknowledge to me, one of the tools that I talk about in Beyond Blessed Parenting is affirming language. And I actually give scripts and I give examples. So, and I've done this on my social media platform as well. So what that looks like is there's some magic words, I like to say. We each have 2 buckets that have to be filled every day. Most of the time, by the time our night comes, we have very little drops in our bucket as a parent and as an individual. But if we can, during the day, acknowledge within ourselves how we feel and notice and do all those things we talked about before, that will put a few drops in our bucket. So then we can then help fill our child's bucket.
So how does noticing fill a bucket?
Yes. So affirming language, what that means, and this has to do with what you just asked, is if we bring in a redirective statement too fast, it actually does exactly the opposite. It will take out the water. It will literally empty their bucket because they feel completely dismissed. They don't feel heard. They don't feel seen. I do believe that if most people would walk around this earth feeling more seen and heard, I don't think we would have so many issues that we have.
I agree.
Because most people are feeling very lost, very overwhelmed, and very not seen.
Yes.
Yes. So what that affirming language, let's say your child, well, let's make it a really easy example. Let's say your child wants either more iPad time or the second dessert. Either one of these are easier examples to think of. So you would look at your child and they're starting to melt or starting to kind of have some sass, and you would say, wow, gosh, I really see and hear, those are your magic words.
See and hear.
I see and hear that you are having some pretty big feelings. You can name the feeling or you can just say big feelings.
Generally, yeah.
Then the next step is the kicker. It's the hardest part is you have to pause. You
The
have to
pause.
pause.
You go back to the first
You
one.
have to pause. If we race in too fast after we've affirmed, then it kind of dismisses the affirmation. So I want you, because affirmation and acknowledgement, I'm kind of almost saying they go hand in hand.
Okay.
So I want you to pause. Then the next statement is your kicker. Then I want you to look at your child in their eyes. If you can get on their level, we call that the miracle stance. If you can actually get right on their eye level or even slightly lower, and say to them, "I wonder if there's a way we could figure this out together." So see, hear, and together.
See here
Together immediately communicate. He gets me.
Right.
I'm not alone.
Yeah.
I've got a partner. I've got a cheerleader. I've got a coach. I've got a teammate.
An ally, yeah.
Anything. Yeah. And that will...
I'm not alone.
That will be huge.
You
so
know,
that's my acknowledgement.
What I love, again, how we're just kind of like riffing off of each other, is a way that I've encouraged dads to say it. Because I think sometimes having a go-to phrase, like you said, you can have kind of a magic formula, like I see you, I hear you. This is another option. I don't understand, but I want to understand. Can you help me understand?
I love that.
So you start, okay, I see and hear you. And you maybe as a dad are thinking, I have no idea what's going on. I have no idea what she needs.
It's also okay to not know.
So that's what you start with, saying, I know I don't understand right now. You're right. You don't understand, Dad. The door slams. From the other side of the door, you could say, honey, and remember, tone of voice is huge. I know I don't understand, but I want to understand.
Yeah.
Can you help me understand you?
Yeah.
And just stop. Like you said, pause right there. You don't have to fill it in. So I love that third one. Okay. Number 4. What's the fourth strategic principle?
Yes, renewal. And
Renewal.
so in the book, I talk very specifically in this particular principle about trauma and recovering from trauma, whether very traumatic or a little bit less traumatic. But that is that chapter.
Can you just define that? Because you and I both know what we mean by little t trauma
and big
T trauma.
So
but some dads might go, I don't know how to categorize the hard stuff.
Neurologically, trauma's trauma. Trauma affects your brain, whether your child was in a traumatic event, a car accident, a violent event at school, saw
Abuse.
something horrible on the news,
Assault.
whatever it was, secondary trauma, whatever it was, it's not necessarily the incident as far as what the brain is doing.
And the nervous system.
And the nervous system.
Yeah.
All of that.
All goes together.
I'm kind of putting that all together.
Yeah.
So trauma could be it's a continuum. So you either have, and I'm not going to quantify because some people's little t might be big.
I found the same thing.
So a loss of a pet could feel like a big T trauma.
Right, even though to a dad it might be
but it
only
may
a
not
pet.
Be. Yes.
But to her,
even that goldfish,
it's a big T trauma.
It could be a really big
deal.
deal.
You know what? That's a really good point.
It
could be
really
a goldfish.
It could be a pet, dog or a goldfish. It's not really the size, it's the loss.
That's a
typically
really good
trauma does involve some type of loss or change. And remember, every loss involves change. And then some of those are positive changes, some of those are hard changes, seasonal changes. We could go on and on. Okay, so my tip for dads for this part is I could go on and on, so I'm going to just touch very briefly on it, is something I call hula hoop boundaries.
Hula hoop boundaries? I've never heard of
boundaries.
that. Okay.
So we know a boundary is where one ends and one begins. So a hula hoop, I love the visual of this with children. You can literally get a hula hoop. If you don't have a hula hoop, you can use a rope, you can use a ribbon, I don't care what, string, or you can just have a row of stuffies around you, it doesn't matter. But there is a sense of physical boundaries, but what this is talking about more is emotional boundaries. So where dad ends and daughter begins. What you want to teach your child is through modeling this. This is a lot through modeling. This has, again, to do with the cross of connection, because if we're modeling that we're taking care of ourselves and we're seeing our relationship with God as a priority, that's going to communicate to the child that emotional boundary. Okay, you know what? Daddy doesn't can't talk to me right now because he is spending some time doing his grounding exercise.
Right.
And so it eventually, and one phrase I use every day in therapy sessions is over time. None of this is a quick fix.
Yeah, that's a good point.
This
Lots
is
of reps.
Over time. Yeah. So that's just one idea. The other tidbit that I give in this particular chapter, in this particular knowledge, in this idea, is rubber band thinking. Another term is flexible thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to categorize a lot of men, in the way that their DNA was formed, have more of a black, white, kind of all or nothing kind of brain. Mm-hmm. Women do too. I'm not saying women don't. But to build up our rubber band, our flexible thinking is very important. And so renewal has a lot to do with your self-care. That's a huge piece of that. And how we can then, if we create that flexible within us, we're going to bleed that off onto our children. Yeah. And our children are going to build up their flexible muscles.
Oh, I love that.
So one quick, easy way is when you're out and about and you're driving around, that happens all the time. A car cuts you off.
Right.
Or you get the stoplight and we're racing to the practice. You are going to say, this is so frustrating. I wish I could just run this light. And then visually and verbally say to the child, this is so frustrating. I just hate that I can't get everything I want. I just wish I just don't like that life is full of things I can't get. And I don't like that I don't get everything I want. That will, over time, build up in their child. It will create a neural pathway, the same thing. Oh, yeah. Daddy can't always get what he wants, neither can I.
And then Dad can say, I'm going to right now use my 5 senses.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say.
You're tying all of these together, right?
Exactly. Tie them all together.
Because again, what you keep saying, more is caught,
yes,
then taught. And it's
so
the
the
modeling.
next one is the kicker.
Number 5.
Forgiveness. This is one of the hardest. Forgiveness is, and you can read this in the book a little bit more, but it was the hardest for me to write. It was the hardest for me personally. Silence and forgiveness were my 2 hardest. And for me, the way that we can do this intentionally with our children is to get in touch with your own love language. Use the 5 love languages.
Let's say what those are, yes.
Yep. So it is, if I can remember all 5 off the top of my head.
I'll back you up.
Physical touch, gifts, affirming language.
Words of affirmation.
Thank you.
Acts of service.
And I'm missing one.
Quality time.
Thank you. Gosh. Ooh, I'm glad I have another therapist here helping.
No, because it is, like you say, you're like, wait, I usually
know
remember 4 and forget 1.
I can say it off the top of my head usually. Okay, so what is your love language as an adult? And then what is your child's? And a way to help build that bond between you and your child is intentionally give that love language every single day to your child. But in the process of you trying to do that, we're going to get tapped by maybe what we didn't receive. And so there are some forgiveness that might need to happen from your own parenting experience. Because one thing we know, and this is proven in research and in life, is that the way we were parented is our lens by which we parent. Yeah. So we have to go backward a little bit to explore. Yeah. Well, how was I parented, and how was maybe my bucket was never full. Right. So that feels really unusual. Yeah. Or maybe it was never okay for me to have big feelings in my house. So then when my child has a big feeling, this feels really actually foreign to me. Like, I don't even know what to do with this. Right. I hear that a lot.
So do I. But I love how you highlighted something that I think is really important that I want to underscore, Tricia, is that you can't prepare as a parent for what you don't know is coming. And so if your daughter is 4 or 14 and you have a big reaction, I always say on a scale of 0 to 10, if you hit an 8, 9, or a 10, it's always your old stuff and your own stuff. Absolutely. Kind of like when you walk in and you flip a switch on, it's hardwired behind the wall long before that 100%. Moment. But you couldn't have known that was going to get triggered in you that day. But the part that I want to underscore that I think is really profound is that you're saying that then is going to trigger your own stuff of what you maybe didn't get. And that provides an opportunity for forgiveness. Now,
within and with others.
yeah, for your parent, like what your parents didn't give you that you didn't even know you needed to do that layer of forgiveness.
That's what you and I are doing in session a lot of the time.
In fact,
it's hard.
This topic of forgiveness, I'm so passionate about it. I actually did my doctoral dissertation on forgiveness.
Okay.
And I just taught on it at the AACC on forgiveness of how do you forgive your father for what he wounded you in or missed, is that this idea of forgiving, it frees us in the end. Yeah. Because we have to let go. I love that word for forgiveness. We're letting go.
That was actually the word I had.
Yes, I love it.
What was funny is I would write the word let go, then I would write the word forgive, then I would write the word let go. And finally, I felt like God was saying, write the hard word. Because the harder word for me was the word forgive.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, I'm just going to write it.
And I'll say one more thing before we do the last two. We'll land the plane here soon. But I'm actually been in a practice of forgiving some members of my family, includes my dad too, as I've been in touch with some things I didn't get. And I literally have done this daily for about 7 months, where every morning
over time
I name the person. I know what it is I'm forgiving, but here's the key is I literally throw it to the cross. I fling it to Jesus because it's too much for me. And then I counter that with praying Numbers 6:24-26 over them to bless them. May the Lord bless them and keep them. May the Lord make his face to shine upon them and be gracious to them. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon them and give them his peace, which has kept my heart soft. So I just wanted to add that because you didn't even know this, that you and I are both on the same page of going, forgiveness is the key for us to be free.
100%.
So if you want to be a dad that is clear in going deeper with your father-daughter connection, it's going to require that you go deeper within yourself for your own unhealed wounds
100%.
So you can be the dad you want to be. Okay, number 6, strategic principle.
Yes, balance. So balance kind of brings them all together. I talk about the 3 P's of parenting. So prepare, perspective, and prioritize.
Okay.
And so those 3 P's have to do with balance. And balance is
number 6.
Yes, balance is not perfection.
Yeah.
We were never meant to be in perfection. And so that is not our goal. The goal is connection. And those 3 P's are going to help you get there.
Okay, say them again.
Okay, prepare, prioritize, perspective.
Okay.
The perspective piece is a lot about brain and neurologically what is happening in your child's actual brain, neurologically, neurobiologically, interpersonally, what is happening. I love a concept called mindsight that Dr. Dan Siegel talks about, where we can look at our child and pause to think about what is happening in their mind. And when we pause to do that, that allows a massive amount of opportunity for connection
and co-regulation and
all of that has
words.
To do with balance.
Yeah, powerful words.
The final one,
okay, drum roll.
Yes, is embrace. And that is our final one. And that one, to me, is what I love about that is it kind of brings it all together. And we touched on this. Where I really challenge parents is to make sure that you're doing the hard work yourself. Yeah. So then you can embrace that, acknowledge, do all these 7 principles within you, with God, and then you're going to embrace that beyond blessed parenting feeling and that experience that we all can have. We can have joy in parenting. Yes. It's not, does joy look like smooth? Does it look like all the house is quiet and there's not messes? No. Joy means that you will not feel so overwhelmed and so burdened by every little experience that you can't just at least see some joy. And almost like when let's bring it back to the very beginning when you talked about holding that sweet angel, that sweet baby, that very first time. Not that we can always feel that exact joy, but could we tap into that? At any time in our parenting? That would be my ultimate hope and prayer for fathers and mothers and daughters.
Oh, I love that.
And sons.
And then just to even underscore that word embrace, that the more you as a dad know that you have a heavenly Father who has written your name on the palm of his hands. And if you ever feel overwhelmed and alone as a dad, like, I can't do all these things, it's too much, is knowing that you are embraced by your Father who will help you be the dad you want to be.
Absolutely.
So, Tricia, before we end, can you give all 7? Here are the 7 strategic principles for deeper father-daughter connection.
Silence, listening, acknowledgement, renewal, forgiveness, balance, and embrace.
And then I always end with one last question, the go step. So dads have heard a lot of practical ideas today. I've loved that. You've just pulled your chair up right alongside them and said, come on, let's get real. I want you to have practical ways that you can calm yourself, ground yourself, and invest in your daughter. But if a dad was sitting here going, okay, I've heard all you've said, Tricia, but I don't even know where to start. What would be one practical step I could take today to build a deeper bond with my daughter?
I would love for you to incorporate on your way home or on your way to pick up the child from school, a practice, whatever, sprinkle in a moment of silence this week. Just one moment. That may
every
be,
day.
That may be
every moment.
Yes, that would be wonderful. But let's start.
Every time you're going to connect with your daughter,
sprinkle
you know you're going in the room. You know you're going to pick her up.
Sprinkle it in. And that could be 30 seconds. It could be 5 minutes. It could just be a second. I mean, it doesn't have to be very long. But I like to call sprinkle it in because that doesn't feel so overwhelming. Most of us don't have time to go on do a silent retreat or do some spa weekend or a fishing weekend. But what we can do is sprinkle it in throughout our day. So then we can embrace that sweet child, even when they're having a temper tantrum and they are not being so sweet in the moment, we can still embrace them. And we can still connect with them. That would be my biggest thing.
Because that may be the one thing I say, Dad, do it as an experiment.
Literally. In fact, I coach parents to actually, on the way to pick up their child, do not take a phone call. Do not schedule that last meeting. Don't listen
Don't even talk.
And don't even listen to a podcast.
Yeah.
Sit in silence for just a few moments. I mean, I'm not talking 20 minutes. Just a moment to ground.
Oh, I love it.
And that will set you up for that co-regulation that we talked about at the beginning.
Last question, where can people get a hold of you?
Yes, they can get a hold of me at TriciaThornton.com, not very hard to find, and also on social media at Tricia Thornton Therapy.
I love it. Well, today
my books are sold anywhere.
There you go. Yeah. There you go. Beyond Blessed Parenting. Well, the title today, On Your Mark, has been 7 Strategic Principles for Deeper Father-Daughter Connection. Thank you, Tricia Thornton, for joining me. I'm Dr. Michelle Watson Canfield, the Dad Whisperer, signing off and encouraging you to make today a day where you intentionally and consistently invest in pursuing your daughter's hearts. Go Dads!
Thanks for joining us for another edition of the Dad Whisperer podcast with Dr. Michelle Watson Canfield. If you're looking for more resources to support the father-daughter relationship, or if you want to connect personally with Dr. Michelle, you can find all the information you need at drmichellewatson.com. That's drmichellewatson.com. And remember, you can listen to the Dad Whisperer podcast anytime on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and while you're there, we'd love for you to subscribe and leave us a review. Thanks for joining us today, and we'll see you again on the next edition of the Dad Whisperer podcast with Dr. Michelle Watson Canfield.